The next step in the stack is going to be configuring Tomcat to work with Eclipse. Okay, let's go to Eclipse. Now notice it. Well, let's bring up the server window if you don't have it yet. Go to Windows, Show View, Servers. You notice when I bring up the server view, I already have a server installed. All right, let's. I'm going to delete this server. So we should be at the same spot. We'll do it together. I don't have any servers installed. I want to add a server. No servers are available. Click this link to add a new server, or I can right-click, say New Server. The server that I want is a Tomcat 7. The same software I downloaded before. Don't make any changes. Click Next. Now, it just so happens that I'm working on a program called servlets.gsp. I'm going to add that as part of my configured applications or servlets. I click Finish. The server stopped. Now, before, remember we had Tomcat installed for using my PC as a local web server. Let's check to see if that's running. I'll check two different ways real quick. Go to Tomcat Host Manager. It doesn't connect. And it doesn't connect because I don't have the service started. I'll go to services.msc and check to see if the service is started. If the service is started and I can't connect, that's a whole different problem. The service is there, it's not started, that's a good thing. I don't want it started because I want to run the Tomcat in a runtime environment in Eclipse. Remember that port 8079? 8079 is how I have my Eclipse IDE set up. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I go to Eclipse, double click the server, it'll bring up all the different parameters for the server. That HTTP 1.1 8079, that's where I want the HTTP to go, is 8079. If I had this running and I had the Tomcat service running at the same time, they may conflict. So I like to, this is just my thing, I like to have either one or the other running. When I'm done running it locally and I want to run it, when I'm done running in debug and I want to run it locally, I'll turn off this server and I'll turn on the service. Okay, so no changes here. Let's close this. And let's try to start the server. Now I may get a message saying that Windows Firewall doesn't like 8079 as a service. Let's see what happens when I try to start it. Cool, started. They didn't give me a message. So one of the things, when you start using ports that sort of aren't expected, 8080 is definitely expected. That's internet. That's how the internet works. 8079 is not quite expected. So if you have a firewall program installed, it may prompt you to make sure if this is right. If you have an antivirus program installed, it may also block or attempt to ask you if that port's okay. Very good. Tomcat is ready to go. If you wanted to run locally, it's available and ready to go. Let's take one more quick look at something. I'm going to make sure we're using the right runtime environment. We'll stop the server. Double click it once again. I'm looking to see if the Java JDK is correct, if it has it here. So let's see, the server name's good, host name, the runtime environment, the configuration path is fine. Let's take a look at open launch configuration. Looks like I have my old JDK installed, the JDK 1710. Remember, I had it updated to 1752. Let's go and fix that. Close this guy. Let's go to Windows Preferences. Type in Java. And down under Java, install JREs, the execution environment. Install JREs. These are where my different JREs are installed and JDKs are installed. So it looks like I have Java JRE 7 as my default. I also had the JDK 1.7.10 installed, which is not the default. Let's fix all this. Let's click Add. It's a standard VM, and the JRE home, it's going to ask me for the directory. I remember that it was under my program files, C program files, Java, and I believe JDK 1.7.51. There we go. Let's click OK. And I'm not going to make any other changes. Let's click Finish. So I should have that installed. Let's take this guy, uncheck this, and check that as my default. So this will be my default library. And give it an OK. Let's see if that took. I'll go back to Windows Preferences, go back to Java. Well, I see it right there, but let's go through the motions. Java, install JREs, and I have JDK 1.7.51, and that's my default. That's a good thing. So now let's go back to the server. Let's double-click Tomcat. Go back to Open Launch Configurations. Go back to Class Path, and still is 1.7.10. Okay. So let's say, let's give it a shot. Advanced. It's a add library, and it's a JRE system library. And let's use the workplace default that we just set. And let's get rid of this guy. Remove. So I did it manually. I bet you if I added that Tomcat again, or if I did it from scratch after I did the default, it would have picked the right one. But either way, click Apply and click OK. So it's using the correct runtime environment. Let's just make sure. I have the server stopped. Let's try to start it, see what happens. Starting, I get a bunch of messages, and sure enough, it is started and synchronized, ready to go. Excellent. Tomcat is configured to Eclipse. I have my correct JDK installed and loaded in Eclipse. On to the next one.